Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our Hybrid Events in 2021 webinar. My colleague and I are really looking forward to delivering today's session with you all. This webinar is powered by Opsgility. For those of you who don't know, we are a premier Microsoft Learning partner, as well as a Microsoft Gold partner. My name is David. I'm the lead customer success manager for Opsgility. Our focus is going to be on the virtual conference manager platform, which we will get to here in a little bit, where we help clients deliver virtual and hybrid events by taking advantage of the power of Microsoft Teams. Our team will work with you during the entire event process, from discovery to the agenda building, the production planning, content, items such as that, event delivery, and even the post-event support with reporting, recordings, and things like that. We'll also be here to help you transition into the hybrid events that are starting to become more popular and becoming more online. I do believe that hybrid events are here to stay, whether that be for health or safety reasons, whether that be for financial budgeting reasons, maybe business productivity. That what we're seeing is that the event industry has been evolved in a positive direction as it's kind of moved into being able to deliver highly successful and engaging virtual events, as well as introducing live in-person events back to us. I am thrilled today to bring on my partner, Samantha, who's one of our customer success managers. So without any further delay, Samantha, over to you.
Thanks so much, David. As David said, my name is Samantha Embry, and I am a customer success manager at Opsgility, focusing on our virtual conference manager offering. My background is in the Las Vegas convention services market, and I believe that the future of events will inevitably include a virtual component, just like David said. As we navigate the world of hybrid events, I'm excited to share with you some of the ways in which we can make your event come to life. So, as you know, today is all about hybrid events. We will go over how to deliver hybrid events, focusing on accessibility for attendees and event staff. We will then go into embracing the hybrid event model and how to seamlessly blend remote and on-site audiences. And finally, we will cover how to maintain audience engagement in the best way possible using the virtual conference manager. We're going to save quite a bit of time at the end of the presentation for attendee questions, so please feel free to submit your questions in the Q&A area as we go along. In case you missed our previously hosted webinars, Digital Events with Microsoft Teams and Virtual Events 101, you're able to access those on Opsgility's YouTube channel. There's some great information in these past webinars if you're brand new to the world of virtual events. To kick us off, let's explore what makes an event great and how we establish a foundation for an event prior to planning and execution. So any compelling hybrid event is about the people who interact with them. In a hybrid environment, this can mean doubling the amount of attendees, presenters, event staff, and so many more different contributors as you have both an on-site and off-site component. To ensure your event is compelling to all of its contributors, it is critical that throughout your process of producing a hybrid event to prioritize the following elements: your ongoing engagement strategy, the clarity of your message, and the attendee experience. All event decisions should be made with these key elements in mind. Often the most important thing to invest in is the storytelling skills of your presenters who will land your core message. Ensure your content has a follow-up life cycle for attendees who want to continue learning, review content, or ask questions. Remember, events are no longer just a destination. They fuel connection, ongoing learning, and engagement. And speaking of engagement, it is essential that your attendees feel engaged with the content, presenters, and other attendees during your event. We will deep dive into ways in which we can leverage your audience to ensure hybrid events in a few slides, but for now we will go into the different purposes of events. Coming from a Marriott background, I'm a big fan of how they categorize events into 7 encompassing purposes. To celebrate, the event is to commensurate a milestone or accomplishment. Some example of these would be an incentive trip for your top sellers or an anniversary party for your company, keeping people excited and engaged for the work they have been doing. To decide, the event is focused on meaningful dialogue, so an outcome or direction can be initiated. Let's say you're an association who changes its board of directors every year. The purpose of your event might be to host a debate and have attendees decide during your event who will be elected for the next year. To educate, the event is to impart knowledge and have attendees learn new things or acquire a new skill. Opsgility actually started as a training platform for Microsoft certification prep classes. So attendees using Opsgility were provided with educational materials in order to take those Microsoft certification exams. Educational conferences are one of the most popular conferences in the market today, and the content provided and the presenters selected really are key to that event's success. To ideate, the event is to innovate or produce new ideas, new ways of thinking or doing things. An example of this would be if you're planning an upcoming change in market strategy, you would want to pull people from all areas of the company to hear their opinions on which way they think the company should go. This purpose is really dependent upon engagement of attendees and their ability to share their ideas with one another and stakeholders. To network, the event is to meet and get to know new people. Did your company recently hire on a new department? You want the whole team to come together and meet one another. This is a very social type of event where attendee interaction and relationship building is key. To produce, the event calls for people to collaborate towards a specific goal or develop a specific output. For example, there's a hackathon where you get all the coders on your team trying to crack this one bug that you have on your website, and you want them to be able to see the progress one another has made and collaborate to make sure that happens. And then finally, to promote, this event is to introduce new offerings, product or service, or promote new ideas or message. A great example of this would be every time Tesla drops a new line of vehicles, they put on a show to show off their product and really get people excited about the upcoming launch to market. And as a point of clarification, this is not a one and done situation. You can have an event where you celebrate, educate, and network. However, understanding these purposes and how they differ from one another is key to successfully executing your hybrid event. And on that note, David, now that we've explored what events really mean at their core, in your experience, where should we begin when planning a hybrid event for the first time?
Great question, Samantha. It seems like it'd be really simple questioning if there's going to be many key factors contributing to ensuring that you are on the right track. After you start the event, after you kind of get the purpose of your event, Samantha did a really great job kind of covering what those are. After you do get that purpose of the event, really the next place to start is how are you going to envision that this conference is going to be delivered? Envisioning the conference, it really includes a number of things. Is this a single event where it's going to be one time? It may be fewer than, say, 300 people. It's going to be small. You really want a lot of interaction with the attendees, with their microphones, their cameras, things like that. It's an event series where you'll be doing multiple type of events. You want some managed Q&A to make sure that it stays focused and on the topic that you are producing. It could go up to several thousand attendees. You could have multiple presenters that are each presenting on different topics. Is a part of a community where you are kind of driving in engagement and interaction. We've put some examples of the different type of events, and we'll get into these a little bit more. You've got product launches, organizational changes, could be a single event. Your event series could be some trainings, like Opsgility has done, and we're very good at doing, maybe office hours, employee development, things like that, are really driving community engagement with customer partners, community partners, product support, things like that. So understanding how you want to deliver this event and who you're delivering it to and how it will be done is important in kind of building the type of event you're going to do. And then once you know that, you start looking at the different type of event scenarios that you have. Is it a webinar? These are great for an individual event. They're also great for a series of events. These, like we've done, this is our third one in our delivery. Is this live, like we're doing today, or is it recorded? It could be for the webinar. Again, probably shorter type events, 30, 45 minutes is about all on those. You could be thinking of a more traditional full day event, even multi-day event. Then you're looking at your conferences, your hybrid or your virtual conferences. These are great for multi-track scenarios. So for example, the organization-wide events where each department has their own track with dedicated sessions to those departments. Of course, these can be moderated QA as well, which tends to be the smoothest way for a large event to monitor and filter the questions that come in and ask, and what is asked that gets asked aloud to the presenters, And so typically, you know, it may be virtual delivery only, but we are starting to see that in the hybrid community as well. Then you do have your online communities. Great for online engagement, for example, higher education. That is maybe a few months in length. For continuous learning, again, with Opsgility, starting as a training company, we're now converting more of a consulting, but training is still part of what we offer. We use the Virtual Conference Manager platform for our Skill Me Up Academy, which is a place for live training and continuous learning on the platform post-training for that. Then there are your more leadership type events or town halls. These are definitely one-to-many type conferences with managed Q&A. They can tend to be higher profile type events. They can be highly branded events and sometimes even destination events when we're doing them in person. And then lastly, there are public broadcasts. These are great for a very broad and a widespread audience, great for global outreach. These can be situations where you want to stream your event to multiple platforms and in multiple destinations. So then, you know, you've determined your purpose. You figured out, is this going to be a one-time thing? Is this a multi-event series? Maybe you've now determining what type of scenario that's going to be best for you. So with all this information, you should be able to narrow this down and then start to build your event team that's going to help you pull off this event and make it successful. Defining the event team is an important and highly valuable step in the process. It's essential to have an event team. Should encompass your organizers, it should have producers, and it should have presenters kind of at a minimum. There's also moderators and IT administrators that we'll get into as well. For the purpose of this part of the webinar, I'm going to focus more on the virtual side, and Samantha's going to talk a little bit more about making it hybrid and moving forward. But I think what's also important when you're determining your event team is the larger and more complex the event is, you may need to have multiple people who are going to handle the in-person aspect of it, and then someone who's going to handle the virtual to make sure that the tasks are getting done, the due dates, the budget, all that needs to be handled, gets handled appropriately, whether it's the in-person side of it or the virtual. You know, for the virtual, you are going to need that organizer. The organizer is the really essential part of the team. They are the ones who set the event permissions, they're building the events, they're tracking the projects to make sure things are getting done, they're monitoring the budget, they kind of build everything out, curate the event links, and just kind of overall manage the event. For the virtual side too, you still have your producers. They're the ones who are responsible for delivering the event on the days of the conference. They will start and stop the sessions. Sometimes they'll record them if that's needed. If you want to, you know, not everybody's going to be able to attend, so you want that session to be available for future playback. Your producers are the ones that would start and stop those recordings. And in certain situations, depending on the complexity of the event, say it's a panel discussion, 3 or 4 people you want to be on screen all at one time with a PowerPoint presentation that they're talking to, you're getting into a little bit more of an advanced production. Your producers will be critical to make sure everything's set up, that it's running smoothly, and everything's being transitioned appropriately to make those events a success. And so sometimes you may have multiple producers depending on the size and complexity of your events. It's just, you know, being mindful of people's bandwidth and not overwhelming them or putting too much on their plate so that they can really focus on their task and make sure it gets done successfully for you. Presenters, the ones going to speak to your attendees, are going to create and deliver their content for the event. Presenters are ones that in this hybrid and virtual world, it does pay to take a few extra minutes, to take a little bit extra time and really determine the best speaker that you can do for the event. You've got some speakers who are really, really good at presenting in a live setting in person because they're getting that feedback from the attendees. Attendees are laughing at the jokes. They can read the facial expressions. Maybe there's a content point that the attendees just aren't quite understanding and some more time needs to be spent on that. Well, that presenter in the in-person setting is being able to read the room and kind of see that and adapt their presentation to what the feedback they're getting from the in-person attendees. In a virtual setting, much like we're doing here today, we're talking to a camera. So we don't necessarily get the feedback coming from the attendees to know, ooh, do we need to drill down on that topic a little bit more? So it's a much different presentation style. And so some people who are really, really good in an in-person setting struggle in a virtual setting because they're not getting that attendee feedback. So understanding that will help you determine the best presenters for the content and put them in a place to be successful, which will lead to the overall success of your event. As these events get bigger and more complex, we do highly recommend moderators. These are people who are strictly dedicated to helping facilitate, say, the Q&A, to keep that on point and keep that on topic, give direction and guidance to the presenters, keep them on time. Being respectful of people's time in a virtual setting is important. You may have a presenter who is going to work their normal job before they give their presentation. They're going to log on when you told them to log on, give their presentation, and then they set appointments for after. So having a moderator that can kind of keep things on time and keep people on point will just help be respectful of people's times when they're helping you out. And really, most importantly, the moderators are there to take some of that pressure off the presenters and allow the presenters to be 100% focused on delivering their content and a successful event for you. And again, the larger, more complex with the virtual, you're going to want to have an IT administrator on your team as well. Someone who's watching the back end processes and making sure the systems are running well. There's enough bandwidth for all the attendees as they start to log in and get settled into their sessions. So adding that IT administrator will, again, critical role for the success of that virtual event. And so by creating your event team and understanding all the different scenarios that your event falls in, it will help you run a successful event. And let's go to the next slide. So now that we understand what can be done virtually, it's important to take that information and find ways then to integrate it with in-person components. So one of the benefits of a hybrid event is that it creates an accessible environment that wasn't necessarily available to us during live events. So Samantha, with in your experience, how can we ensure accessibility is a focal point when planning the hybrid events?
That's a great question, David. And when it comes to accessibility, we can look at this in two ways. But let's start with the overall ease of access to information that your attendees, presenters, and even you as planners now have. Virtual events specifically allow for attendees across the world to receive content that they may not have had the time or the means to attend in the past. With hybrid events, you are able to capture both the individuals who prefer an on-site experience, as well as open the door for those across the globe. Being realistic on the split that you have between on-site and virtual attendance is a very important data point to collect. So poll your audience early to determine the best route forward. Note that you will likely have a larger audience than in past events, so keep that in mind for budgetary purposes. Another great thing in regards to ease of access in a hybrid model is you now have the ability to pre-record content or use content from past virtual events to display to both on-site and virtual attendees. When it comes to senior leadership addresses or instructional materials, we've seen great success with pre-recorded videos for virtual conferences. This does not change with a hybrid model, as on-site attendees will likely be viewing content from virtual presenters, and the pre-records can be easily intermingled. In addition to using pre-recorded content, you are also able to choose a virtual conference partner who can make your sessions on demand for attendees to view at a later time. This does not have to only include your virtual attendees. You can also give access to your on-site attendees to continue the content lifecycle after the conference concludes. Whether you are charging attendees to attend your conference overall or not, you can look at including recordings to sessions for an additional fee if you'd like. This allows attendees to view on their own time without actually having to attend the live sessions or view later if they want to just refresh on that information. And finally, when it comes to your presenters, the needs that they will have will be different whether they're on site or presenting virtually. You now have access to presenters from across the world who previously would not have been able to take the time off to travel to your specific event destination. Now they can attend virtual trainings, block their calendars for their specific presentation time, and continue on with their workday. Many presenters have gotten accustomed to a virtual performance, but you will always have presenters who will prefer to come on site. These presenters are often looking for that visual and audible feedback that comes from presenting to a live audience. So be sure to keep that in mind again as you're setting your rooms for in-person attendees. And the second part of accessibility with hybrid events covers the needs of individuals who have disabilities, including but not limited to those with vision, hearing, or learning difficulties. Studies have found that in the United States, 48 million people are deaf or hard of hearing, 1 million people are blind, and more than 12 million have low vision. 5 million people are English language learners, and while learning disabilities are not always known, it is likely 40 million Americans have a learning disability. Even with all of this being said, a recent national inclusion study conducted by Respectability found that even before the pandemic, only 14% of people say their organizations use video captionings to ensure people who are deaf or hard of hearing can use their content. Creating an accessible event, both in person and virtually, is the responsibility of every planner and organization. For those attendees who are hard of hearing or deaf or wanting translation services, closed captioning services are widely available on virtual conference streaming systems such as Microsoft Teams. You have the option here as an attendee to turn on closed captions if you so choose. Attendees can customize their captioning size, opacity, and language so it fits their needs specifically. Think about streaming these feeds with subtitles to your in-person audience as well, or hire an in-person sign language interpreter to be on site for your attendees who are deaf or hard of hearing. Another great feature on Microsoft Teams is the playback speed function. Attendees who are looking to watch a session have the ability to slow down the playback rate of a video during a live session. For on-demand content, attendees also have the option to increase the speed of play. This allows attendees to adjust the speed based on their information digest needs. In regards to content inclusivity, there are quite a few factors that planners and presenters will need to keep in mind when creating conference materials and content decks. First and foremost is alt text capabilities for your attendees who are blind to allow them to interact with images and non-text items on your conference webpage. Similarly to that is equipping your presenters with tips and contrasting colors to use to their content decks. Many attendees have low vision and are not able to distinguish non-contrasting items on a PowerPoint slide. That being said, the size of a content deck displayed within the ballroom for an on-site attendee is vastly different than the size of a content deck that an attendee may be watching via a tablet or on a laptop. Advise presenters to keep both audiences in mind when creating content so that it can be easily read on both ends of the spectrum. And to wrap up content accessibility, consider posting content decks prior to the session so that attendees can review and follow along using their own preferred devices. Share any links within content decks via a hyperlink fashion for ease of access as well. And finally, take breaks from sessions seriously. Your virtual attendees have the ability to step away, use the restroom, grab a cup of coffee without disturbing the group. However, your in-person attendees do not have that same freedom anymore. Make sure your on-site attendees are still allowed ample time to break and recharge, especially after they've had the year of virtual freedom that we've all had. Consider increasing the frequency of your breaks to allow for at least 15-minute each to reduce burnout. And this slide is a friendly reminder that we all have a responsibility to make events accessible to all who want to attend them. When in doubt, it is always a good idea to involve people with accessibility requests in your planning process to ensure their needs are addressed accordingly. We here at Opsgility take this process very seriously, and we are proud to say that the Virtual Conference Manager is one of the very few platforms in the market who are WCAG compliant. And so, David, now that we've covered the accessibility aspect of hybrid events, how do we ensure our planners and attendees are embracing the shift overall?
So one thing to remember when you're presenting in a virtual setting is to take yourself off mute when it's your turn to talk again. So happens to all of us, even the best presenters sometimes forget. That's me have to thank you. It's important for planners to remember that they need to control what they can control and understand that there will be things out of your control. Like you can control taking yourself off mute, make sure you do it before you start speaking. But also understand that attendees expect that, as we begin to get back into in-person events, attendees do expect that their health and safety has been a top priority during the planning process and that appropriate steps were taken keeping health and safety in mind. It'd be important for planners to set clear expectations for the in-person attendees. Attendees should be expected to follow all local and state guidelines. They should be expected to conduct daily health checks, respect each other. If an attendee wakes up and they're feeling kind of quote unquote under the weather, show care and respect and stay in your room that day. It might be important for planners to make, the health of the attendees a priority. Carefully structure the agenda, as Samantha just covered, leaving adequate time for breaks, 15 minutes to go use the restroom or just kind of get away and refresh a little bit. But in that time, it's time to clean and sanitize session rooms and spaces. You may need to split your meal times to lower the number of attendees eating together in a confined space. In-person attendees will need to be physically distanced, and again, abiding by all the local public health regulations in whatever city or place that you're conducting the event. Be thoughtful on how you seat the attendees. Have that distancing, but also encourage engagement, being mindful of the health and safety. And how can planners be sure to give the virtual attendee an engaged experience? Carefully theme both the in-person and the virtual event to be consistent. Color themes, backgrounds, even conference swag. You may need to set aside some budget or some time to send out the swag that the in-person attendee is going to receive also to the virtual attendees so that they don't have that fear of missing out, that they were left out just because they were virtual. Networking opportunities, make sure that if you're going to have networking opportunities for that in-person event, make sure you also have it for the virtual. Be mindful that you're just not leaving that virtual attendee feeling left out. If you're going to have an in-person happy hour, send the virtual attendees a certificate for one of those food and beverage delivery services that are out there. Set up a virtual networking session and allow them to participate as well. And as always, the attendees are going to expect us to be prepared and have backup plans, have backup solutions. What happens if the keynote speaker cannot fly to the city of the event due to travel restrictions? What happens if the keynote speaker cannot present live due to a positive COVID test, or they fall sick and they can't, it's not wise for them to get into that setting and do their presentations? What happens if an attendee needs to stay in their room for health reasons and needs to attend the sessions virtually? Having a virtual solution like Virtual Conference Manager, having a virtual solution that can be easily implemented will help you overcome any last-minute challenges and still deliver a successful event. It's not possible to proactively plan for every different situation that may come up with the attendees, but it is expected that at least their health and safety situations are planned for and taken care of should those come up. And as mentioned earlier, or as I put on the slide earlier, I've got about 25 years of experience in the live event industry, and as event planners, we get comfortable living with uncertainty. We control what we can control, right? We just kind of talked about that, but we manage the situations that we cannot control. In this new virtual and hybrid environment, we need to keep a few key items kind of in mind. Budget. Events may have smaller in-person attendance as companies may have cut back on overall budget for travel, airline, hotels, food and beverage, things like that, or your overall attendance number for the live events may be smaller because people just aren't comfortable getting into that setting yet. That doesn't necessarily mean that the budget then is going to decrease as well. It doesn't mean that just even though because there may be smaller. With events being streamed virtually, budget factors such as electrical, internet bandwidth, audiovisual equipment, all those costs will increase in order for you to successfully deliver the virtual aspect of the event. By paying for higher quality lighting, paying for higher quality sound, technicians that are being used to set up the event, by budgeting for that will help you set up for success. Talk to your AV providers and the production staff on what new and innovative approaches that they can provide to your event to kind of help you differentiate it, set it apart from all the other events that are going on. Could they build a TV studio to broadcast your keynote, your virtual keynote out there, and have you budgeted for that level of production value? Carefully selecting your event partners that will help you plan and navigate the hybrid event. AV companies that are accustomed to working with a virtual platform, destination management companies, DMCs that can help you build engaging events and experiences for both the in-person and the virtual attendee, keeping the theme of the event consistent between in-person and virtual. Make it a goal that the virtual attendees do not feel like they missed out or were left out of key conference events. Again, keeping color themes of the in-person and virtual events the same. Use the same background. Have the step and repeat that's behind your in-person speaker can then be converted into a virtual background for your virtual speaker, so there's some consistency in that for your overall conference. And as we mentioned before, stick to the schedule. It's been easy for live event or in-person events to get off schedule a little bit, and planners just adjust the meal time, or maybe you end a little bit later that day. With virtual speakers as well as virtual attendees, these folks could be working their normal jobs, stop to attend your session or present at your event, and then go back to working their normal jobs. Staying on schedule will help them feel that their time and effort is being respected and valued. And what helps with that, keeping sessions on time, is moderators. Moderators can help keep both the in-person and the virtual presenters on time. And then streamlining your event team. Again, as mentioned earlier, you may need to have an in-person event team and a virtual event team that will help you keep track of all the to-do items, keep track of the content, keep the sessions on point and on schedule. So you may need to focus your event planners based on whether they're handling the in-person event or the virtual event. Yeah. So an important part of events has always been engagement. And that's even more important now that we're transitioning into this hybrid and virtual world. So Samantha, I want to send it back to you. Why is attendee engagement so important to live events, and how can planners drive that engagement?
Thanks, David. Yeah, it's essential that your attendees feel engaged with the content, the presenters, and other attendees during your event. So here are a few quick facts that highlight the importance of keeping attendees engaged. 49% of marketers say that audience engagement is the biggest contributing factor to having a successful event. And 78% of businesses that use an event application say that it contributes to a positive event ROI. Those are huge facts when it comes to engagement and really driving home attendee engagement as a top priority for your events. Does your past event data reveal ways that your attendees prefer to engage with one another? Are you envisioning that your on-site attendees will interact with your virtual attendees? Or are you okay with having each set intermingle only with those who have chosen the same path? These are really important questions to ask during the planning phase, as it will help determine the ways in which engagement is possible for your event. Let's look at a few ways that we can make that happen overall. So attendee engagement is difficult regardless if you have your event in person or virtually. So coming up with ways in which you can do it with your hybrid attendees is kind of an interesting task. However, when in doubt, take it back to what you know works. Polls, surveys, gamification are great ways to put a pulse on your attendees' thoughts and keep them engaged. Think about doing a conference-wide trivia during one of your breaks, or have a conference-wide gamification ability that allows a healthy sense of competition. There's a lot of information that can be captured via a badge scanning or join link clicks when you're able to put that into a gamification network. This keeps your attendees excited about the sessions throughout the day, and kind of get them excited to attend sessions to be on the top of the leaderboard. And often overlooked, but key player in keeping attendees excited about their sessions are the moderators and MC. And I know David touched on this a little bit earlier, but we're driving it home. These are really important, people for your virtual and on-site attendees. When hosting in a hybrid model, it is likely that you'll have a main host or MC on site to keep your audience on-site engaged during transition times and breaks. However, the online moderator will be playing host to your virtual attendees, while also physically being on site. So it's kind of an interesting role. This is a key person who has the power to control the interactions between on-site and virtual attendees. They will often give start and end cues to on-site production teams, as well as monitor Q&A for live answers to occur for those virtual attendees to get their thoughts and opinions heard to the live audience. This is an area that should not be overlooked when it comes to encouraging engagement between your on-site and virtual guests. And then moving on to swag, David also touched on this a little bit too, but we're diving a little bit deeper. This is something that we've seen year after year when it comes to on-site attendees, but how can you replicate that same feeling of inclusion for your virtual attendees? One option would to be pre-send some items to your virtual attendees is if address data is something that you can readily collect. Note that this will increase your shipping costs and your swag costs, but it really creates a wow factor if you have that small leadership type of meeting, to really create that impact of inclusion. Another option would be using an online or virtual swag option to include redeemable website vouchers, downloads to exclusive company content, and much, much more. Similarly to this is the idea of providing F&B credits or vouchers for your offsite attendees to have a meal on us, essentially. David mentioned that for happy hours, but maybe that also includes breakfast or lunch. When you go to an on-site event, you're expecting your meals to be paid for and provided. That same feeling of, getting a $25 a day credit to Grubhub or Postmates really takes the pressure off of you stopping to make food, and you have that ability to choose what you like in the comfort of your own home. And the overall key to engagement is making sure your attendees on-site or virtual are feeling included. Make sure you consider time zones in your schedule. If you have a large Pacific time zone contingent, but your physical conference is in New York. Your Pacific Standard Time attendees will thank you if they don't have to wake up at 5 a.m. to watch your scheduled 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time keynote. Putting in the thought and care for your attendees will go a long way. In addition, don't forget to be inclusive of your presenters. For virtual presenters, think about sending a pre-conference gift with a little ring light or headphones to show that you're thinking about how they'll look visually to your attendees. Send out the virtual background that David was talking about so it matches your on-site step and repeats, so your virtual presenters really do feel like they're there in the moment. And finally, don't forget about networking. Networking during a conference is crucial in some form to optimize attendee engagement. Find ways to include your sponsors for virtual attendees to interact with. Let your virtual attendees interact with one another like on-site attendees are able to. Create space for genuine, natural connections. And speaking of natural connections, David, how can the virtual conference manager help deliver a seamless virtual experience?
That's a great question, Samantha, and we can do it with virtual conference manager. We're going to go ahead and get into a small demo here on that. I have pulled up our virtual conference manager there that's showing. I'm actually going to go ahead and send that full screen so you can get a little bit better view of that as we move forward. Really, what we are trying to do with the virtual conference manager is give the attendee a similar experience virtually that they would be getting in an in-person event. In-person event's going to have large rooms for general sessions, smaller rooms for breakouts and education sessions. You may have an expo hall for sponsors and vendors to showcase their goods and kind of the stuff they have coming up that your attendees can visit with them and learn about. You in an in-person setting probably have a conference app, or in the old days a conference brochure that highlighted the speakers. The virtual conference manager allows you to do that as well. We have networking options that are in there for either one-on-one networking up to small groups that can get together and have a discussion on a topic that they want to talk about. And then as far as the engagement goes, what we call gamification, putting a little contest out there that the attendees can participate in to really keep them engaged in the event. And if they're competitive like me, they're going to beat that person who might be ahead of them in the points. So they'll look for ways to gain more points, whether it's visiting exhibit hall sponsors, attending sessions, filling out surveys, items such like that to help drive that engagement. The virtual conference manager allows you to set your schedule up and then keep your attendees on track. It can get difficult trying to manage a bunch of links in a calendar and what link am I supposed to click on, and I hope I don't forget that session. Where in the virtual conference manager, they can just simply come over, they can register for an event that they want to attend, and at the appropriate time they click a join button and they can get into that event. So it keeps it all in a nice and neat in one place. It keeps it organized by day. So when Tuesday comes, they can just get to their Tuesday schedule and click the links that they need to get in. In your agenda, you've allocated a couple of hours for people to attend an exposition show in an expo hall. Well, virtually, the attendees can do that as well. They can get in and they have their own exhibit hall set. You can divide it up by sponsor level, platinum, gold, silver, whatever works for you. You can actually customize that name as well. We allow you to do that in the system. And then the attendees can get in and they can actually visit a virtual expo hall. What's nice about this as well, much like the in-person event where maybe they have to drop off a business card or they have to give their information to show that they attended the session, we have the scan badge feature as well, that the attendee has to put information in, their name, their email address, stuff like that. Well, that's the information that can be given to the sponsor so that, hey, marketing wise, this is how many people visited your booth. These were the eyeballs that were on your information. This is, they had the ability to, watch a video that they put out there, or they can chat. They can hit a chat button and that puts you into a Teams channel chat with that sponsor to ask questions, get more information, things like that. And we have about 5 of these exhibit hall booth setups that we utilize, and they work really well with the conferences. Again, you may want to highlight the various speakers that you have coming in to present. We can do that in the virtual conference manager as well. Allow you to put a headshot of that presenter, a biography, give their Cliff Note bio of who they are and why they're presenting. And it even, as you assign them to sessions and somebody clicks on their information, it will tell the attendee what sessions that presenter is speaking in. So I may know I really want to attend Andy Johnson's presentation because he's really good at what he does. I can go in and see what presentations that he's giving and then go make sure I go register for those. We also allow then, and there's a section where the speaker can advertise their social media. Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, maybe it's a web address, a web page that they want to advertise. That is all possible through our virtual conference manager. And as we mentioned, we said networking was available. You as the planner will have the opportunity to set up different topics. Whether it's, hey, IT professionals come in here, sales professionals come in here. You can ask questions. Hey, during the pandemic, what was your favorite Netflix show to binge? Or what really delicious food dish did you learn to cook during the pandemic? Things like that. And again, it can be as small as one-on-one to as many as not small groups of 10 that are taking place in the conversations. Again, trying to help drive attendee engagement, networking, help them feel involved in the overall conference. And then the gamification is something that we have just real recently rolled out. It allows you to track points for registering for sessions, joining sessions, attending exhibit halls, taking surveys, things like that. If you've got a multinational event and you've got attendees everywhere from America to London to India to Australia, you can have a country contest and track the points by country so that people kind of log in and get some country pride, and we're gonna beat that one and keep generating points and stay engaged in your conference. To do that is really the driving speaker. So we would absolutely love the opportunity to tell you more and to show you more about our virtual conference manager. So we've put up our information here. Please do reach out to us, phone or email, so that we can continue the conversation. And with that, Samantha, I will bring you back on. Do we have any questions that may have been asked?
Yeah, we have one just about our past experience of working with hybrid events and how have we seen that successful with the VCM. So I can take that one, David. We recently had a conference, one of our first interactions with hybrid events, where all attendees were virtual, but there were quite a few, the majority of presenters were on site at this local hotel in a ballroom, and they had a nice step and repeat and stage and podium and all that nice stuff. So really working with the on-site AV team was crucial to getting, the correct video feeds to these virtual attendees. So, they were very mindful of, the local guidelines in the state that they were operating at. So creating those socially distanced panel speakers on site, but then having some panels who are actually virtual, and how do we make that happen with advanced production items? And we used, the expo feature, which was really great because exhibitors were still all off site, but they were able to have those genuine connections and interactions with attendees by using that, virtual conference manager expo feature, and having those, side meetings and chats with virtual attendees. But having that on-site presenter and, opening remarks and, different special items that you can produce in a ballroom, to have that experience be able to be sent out in a format where, we had attendees all across the world for this conference. To be able to see that virtually was just incredible and amazing. So we saw great success. But just remember, your on-site AV team is going to be crucial to that success. So keep them in mind for different cost and budgetary purposes. If you have any more questions, we'll keep an eye out in the Q&A. I don't see any right now, but David, do you have anything to add to that?
No, I think just thank you everyone for attending. We do look forward to connecting with you and furthering this discussion on how here at Opsgility, the Virtual Conference Manager can help you deliver your hybrid event, really help you enhance it. Give that option to your attendees, to whether it's attend in person or virtually, to really maximize your attendance and lead a successful event. So with that, I think we will say thank you and a good day, and hopefully talk to you soon.
Yeah, and we have one question that actually just came through, so I'm going to answer that.
Okay.
It says we use Zoom currently. So what is the difference and what makes this better? So I'll touch on that lightly, and then David, I'll pass it to you as well. Microsoft Teams, we find, is really engaging and really user-friendly for both audiences and presenters. Again, we come back to accessibility items, the capabilities that Microsoft has put into place for captioning, for playback speeds, for language interpretations. It's really robust and amazing, and we integrate with Teams. So we have the ability to put our application, Virtual Conference Manager, right into your Teams tenant. If that's something that all of your users have within your organization, it's a really smooth and seamless transition into getting that accessible for your attendees, to not go to a separate place, not have to sort through links or click on links in the calendar. You have that right there within your Teams platform. David, you want to add?
No, I think you covered it really, really well. The only thing I would like is Zoom is great, and it's a good product out there. I do like how Teams, the breakout meeting features that it has, some of the other stuff that Teams allows you to do, I find very positive and very beneficial. But obviously, we know Teams isn't the only platform out there. We know there's Zoom. We know there's others that can be used. And here, developmentally wise, it's not going to surprise me in the future if we're not able to also integrate with Zoom as well as maybe some other platforms. So definitely keep an eye on us and reach out to us to continue that conversation, because it's something that we are looking into to add to our portfolio and continue to grow the power of the VCM by being able to use it on different platforms and stuff like that. So definitely touch base with us, and let's have that discussion to see how we can help.
Exciting things to come with Opsgility Virtual Conference Manager. Okay, that's the last of the questions. So yeah, like David said, thank you so much for attending and learning with us. And we will see you hopefully in our inboxes to get the discussion going for VCM.
Awesome. Thank you, Samantha. Talk to you all soon. Have a great day.
Thanks, David.